أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أتينا نسائل أم البنين لمن طال منها البكاء والأنين. If we can have total silence, please. لمن صوتها في البقيع تلا بنعي له الصخر شجوا يليني لصبط النبي الشهيد الغريب، بكت مذ بكت أم البنين. فمجلسها في محان البقيع إلى الآن في السمع منه الرنين، كأني بها وهي تحت الثرى تجيب بصوت الشجا والحنين. أيا سائلي أي قطب عزا، أيا سائلي أي خطب عرى فؤادي فأمسى كئيبا حزين. وإن كان فقد البنين انطوى به الضلع مني لهم أجمعين، ولكنه لا كفقد الحسين لا له سال دمع العيون السخي. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Let's have a lot of salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's have another one for the love of Umm al-Banin alayhi salam. and the last one for the love of Imam al-Hussain in your loudest voices. Tonight we commemorate a woman by the name of al-Baneen, the mother of al-Abbas alayhi salam, and her 4 sons. Tonight also we commemorate the day where Abu Abdullah al-Hussain reached Karbala, where the revolution began. And you can say that today is the beginning of Ashura in a sense. Today marks the beginning of the revolution, the beginning of change in the Islamic empire. And just like every revolution, people take from it and people learn from it, and it resonates through time and people remember it because it was a time where the Islamic nation or any nation that went through a revolution became something different, and its identity changed and flipped into something totally new. So it's something people remember and learn from. On the other hand, you find people take the revolution and hijack the revolution and use it to facilitate their own ideas. Use it to facilitate sometimes ideas that go against the revolution itself in the name of the revolution. Just the same way, for example, terrorists hijacked our religion to facilitate their own plans or their own ideas. They hijacked the idea to facilitate a negative idea that they have. When it comes to the revolution of Ashura and this idea of change, you find there's people that come forward and learn from Ashura how to revolt against oppression, how to instill justice on earth, and how to destroy and topple any oppressor, no matter how powerful this person is. And so they say, we believe in Islam, and Islam should be on every corner of the earth. And the rule of God should be instilled everywhere on earth. And that's what Imam al-Hussain stood for, and that's what we are going to learn from the revolution of Ashura. Then there's other people who see it totally different, in a totally different fashion. Look at the world today, and they see in Islamic countries today, especially in the Middle East, the world is all destruction. The world there, the way of life there is totally unorganized. Everything about living in that area is negative. There's nothing positive that came from that area on a political level. And so they take the word of Abu Abdullah, this idea of change and revolution, twist it and say, we're going to attack the issue at its core. And we're going to look at these areas and say, what's the common ground between all of these areas? What makes these areas, for the most part, special? The answer is Islam itself. So they say, instead of us trying to change the way people think about Islam, we should try and change Islam itself to suit the way people think. Do the opposite. And so an idea comes by the name of Islamic Modernization, which calls for exactly that. That we as people are able to dictate. Please, if we can have the brothers and the sisters pay attention, please. That we as people can dictate what our religion will say according to popular opinion and according to the way the world works today. That in each and every time, in each and every area, the people think differently. And because the people's ways of thinking is constantly changing, the rules and their way of life, what they consider to be good and what they consider to be bad should change with the people's mentalities. At first thought, it looks like a beautiful idea. But inshallah, tonight we're going to look and delve into this idea and dissect it, inshallah. And as normal, we're going to ask 3 main questions. The first question we want to ask is what is this idea of Islamic modernization, and why is it so detrimental? Why is it actually one of the most detrimental ideas of today when it comes to our religion? That's number 1. Number 2, how does Islam keep up with the times? Yani we tend to say, well, Islam is 1,400 years old. Compare the way of life of the people back then to now. It's totally different. Why do we have the same set of rules if it's a different way of life, different setting? Everything is different than that time when the Prophet ﷺ came through. So how does Islam keep up with the times? That's number 2. Number 3, is there some form of Islamic modernization that's actually correct? If we take Islamic modernization in another way, kind of look at it from another perspective, can we actually rectify this? Can we actually correct Islamic modernization and use it in our favor? This negative idea, can we use it in a positive manner or not? So these are the 3 questions, inshallah, that we want to ask. Let's begin with Allah sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, the beginning. What is Islamic modernization? Before I begin, subhanAllah, I feel like we're kind of jumpy today. I feel like we have a lot of energy. So guys, please pay attention. Please pay attention here. This is where the majlis is. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ahsantum, jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much. Okay. So what is Islamic modernization and why is it so detrimental? In the beginning, Islamic modernization, guys, is, as we said, an idea that says our way of life should be the objective rule book for the way we should look at the world around us. Please listen to what I'm saying. Human beings always refer back to an objective set of rules that they base their own actions upon. So when it comes to, for example, the laws of the world, the laws of the government, we'll go to the criminal code, we'll go to the Treaty of Human Rights, an objective set of rules, an objective statement where we will set and our actions will depend directly on that set of rules. When it comes to Islamic modernization, they say the objective set of rules that we as a people must go back to is public opinion, is the way we look at the world as a people, is the way we see the world as a people today. That's what Islamic modernization is trying to say. That if we change, our rules will change with it. If our insight changes, then our rules will change with the insight, with the way we see the world. Why is it detrimental? I want you guys to listen. Please pay attention. Please pay attention. Why is it detrimental? When it comes to, please sallallahu ala Muhammad. Let's have another salat ala Muhammad. Why is it so detrimental? We can look at it in 2 ways. And anytime, use this in school, use this in a debate and a discussion, healthy discussion. Anytime you want to look at an issue and you want to find problems in the other person's argument, you can do it in 2 ways. You can do it using something called al-hal, looking at the issue in a logical way and finding the flaw logically, or you can say or use al-naqd, using an example that totally contradicts what this person is saying, an example that you and him agree to the truth being inside that example itself. In other words, using something like a book, like a reference that they believe is correct, that totally contradicts the idea that they have. So al-hal wal-naqd. So when we come to this issue, we're going to use the same basis of attacking the problem. Al-hal, logically, why doesn't it make sense for us to say that our religion needs to change with the time, practically speaking? The answer is, number one, human beings never tend to agree on one thing. In other words, 2 people can look at the same issue, and one will see it in one manner, and another will see it in a different manner. And you'll find that on one issue, there's not only 2 different opinions, there's 5, 6, or 7 different opinions on one issue. To the degree we in the West have a freedom of speech to say what we want at any time and hold any opinion we want. And you yourself can be the only person that has that opinion on that specific topic, and you have the full right to do so. Full right to do so. For example, when it comes to things like abortion, when it comes to things like homosexuality, when it comes to things like should we go to another country and start a war, things based on facts, people disagree on, people differ on. When it comes to our way of life, our rules, our guidelines, if we want to take the opinion of the people, whose opinion should we take? If we're always differing, and we're always butting heads saying, no, this is wrong and this is right, and I think this is good and you think this is bad, and we never arrive at a conclusion, how are we supposed to progress in this idea of changing our religion to what we think if what we think is not in consensus, it's not together, we are different in what we think? The way we see things is totally dependent and totally subjective to our race, our culture, sometimes to our own gender. Our own gender sometimes dictates how we see things and how we interpret certain things. So how are we supposed to change our religion in accordance to our own opinions if we can't agree to them as a people, as a society? Islam is not just for you. Islam is not just for you. It's for everyone together collectively. Islam targets an individual way of life, but targets the way of life of society, the community, the nation as a whole, on a global level. Once we get to one opinion, then we can start to talk about whether we should change our religion in accordance to that opinion or not. So that's one flaw in the idea. The second logical flaw in the idea is it destroys the very fundamentals of religion itself. Why? Because our practical laws, guys, are based on wisdom, are based on a benefit and harm. Yani when you salli 5 times a day, the Lebanese came out. When you pray 5 times a day, 5 times a day. Why 5 times a day? Because there's a wisdom in praying 5 times a day. When I fast for a month, why do I fast for a month? Is it just because God said so? No, there's a wisdom in the action embedded in the very action itself. In the very action itself. These wisdoms are not known by humanity. For if we were to say that we can dictate what's beneficial and harmful in all matters, there will be no need for religion anyway. The whole reason for religion is for us to understand what actually harms us and what actually benefits us. Because we as people in many cases are not able to understand. I'll tell you, logically speaking, can you prove to me why Salat al-Subh has to be at that time? No, logically speaking. Go and do all the research you want. Go and sit in every single university on the face of this planet. Go and look at all the stats. You'll never arrive at a conclusion that says Salat al-Subh has to be at that time. Logically, you can't. If it wasn't for the supernatural power telling you that this is the time where it's beneficial to pray 2 rak'at, and this benefit is one that you have to do, you have to have, you would never find that out. For me to say my religion is dependent on my own opinion, I'm destroying the very basis for a practical religion as a whole. So when we say it's detrimental, it's really detrimental. It destroys the practical aspect of our religion. It destroys the practical aspect of our own religion. Sallallahu alaihi Muhammad wa alihi Muhammad. And so you see, away from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a narration. What happens? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is sitting with his companions. He's sitting with his companions, and he says to them, meaning of the narration, what will happen to you when you leave the halal and stop doing the halal? كيف بكم? What will happen to you if you stop doing the halal or stop doing the wajib? Sorry, not the halal, the wajib. So they're surprised. They're like, it's going to get to that point, Ya Rasulullah? It's going to get to a point where the people are going to stop doing the obligations that are given to them by God? They were surprised. Today it's not really surprising, but it's like, yeah. And there will come a time where you guys will start doing the haram openly, no problem. And will not think twice. Really, Ya Rasulullah? Yes. He says, listen. He says, there will come a time where you will see, listen, where you will see haram as halal and halal as haram. There will come a time where you see the wajib as haram and you will see the haram as wajib, where they will totally flip and the way you look at the religion will totally flip. SubhanAllah, he's talking about eras such as this one, where people say, well, homosexuality has become something normal in these days, so we should accept it as Muslims. Our religion forbids homosexual acts. Our religion is against homosexual acts. Whether the media tells you it's right or it tells you it's wrong, whether the media says it's something okay or the media says it's something that is forbidden, it doesn't change the reality. The reality stands. The reality stands and will never change. Sallallahu ala Muhammad. That's attacking it from a logical aspect. Now let's attack it from al-naqd, using examples that will contradict the idea from the core. The first one is a hadith that is probably known by a lot, that says from the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, Halal Muhammad halal ila yawm al-qiyamah wa haram Muhammad haram ila yawm al-qiyamah. The halal of Muhammad stays halal until the day of judgment, and the haram of Muhammad stays haram till the day of judgment. They will never change. It's an objective set of rules that we will base our lives upon. Another hadith, and this one's a long one, and I want you guys to really focus on this one. From Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He's speaking to a man by the name of Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa was of the opinion that us as human beings, if we have an opinion about a certain thing, if we see something to be good, then potentially we can change the ruling to suit our opinion. To suit our opinion. And our own minds are able to comprehend the ahkam to a certain degree where we can compare between rulings and arrive at a conclusion. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a common example. We say it's halal to eat fish, correct? Okay. Abu Hanifa will come and say, fish live in the sea. Fish live in the sea. Sharks also live in the sea. Therefore, shark is halal. So he used the logic and he said, sharks and fish, salmon for example, share something in common. They have something in common. One is halal, and therefore the other one has to be halal as well. He used his logic and what he thought was logic and came at a conclusion. Came up with a conclusion. This is what we call al-qiyas or al-tamthil or al-istihsan. So Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam is coming to Abu Hanifa and he's trying to discuss this idea with him. And look what he says to him. He says, Ya Nu'man. The name of Abu Hanifa was Al-Nu'man. He says, Ya Nu'man, إياك والقياس فإن أبي حدثني عن آبائه إن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال من قاس شيئا من الدين برأيه قرنه الله تعالى مع إبليس في النار. The one who uses qiyas, the one who tries to understand the religion with their mind and tries to change the religion because what they see fit, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts him with Iblis. طيب, why? Why? Listen what he says. فإنه أول من قاس إبليس حيث قال خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. He says, the reason why he'll put you with Iblis is because the first one to ever use this type of deduction, the first one to ever use qiyas is who? Iblis. Why? When? What happened was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Iblis, prostrate to Adam, bow down to Adam. What was the response of Iblis? خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. I will prostrate to the one who was higher than me. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. And fire beats clay, therefore I'm higher than him. There's no reason for me to prostrate towards him. The ruling was clear. Prostrate to him. He said, no, I will change the ruling and I will change my opinion, will change the reality in front of me, and I will not prostrate to Adam. Look at the deduction. He thought that a person's identity, a person's value is from where they come from. If you come from clay, your value is directly related to the clay you come from. And if you come from fire, if you're created from fire, your value is directly related to what you came from. Is value related to where you came from, or is it in your actions? Is it in your opinions, your mindset, your intellect? He misunderstood it and disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's have another one, please. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Second question. The second question. How does Islam keep up with the times? And this is a question that you guys are asking. How does Islam keep up with the different opinions and the different situations that are brought to us? How does Islam keep up with the time? The answer is in two ways. Islam practically keeps up with the times, number one, by using general laws that can be applied in every single situation, that you are encountered with. What do I mean? In Islam, we have something called al-usul al-shar'iyya. Al-usul al-shar'iyya are these laws, these basic general laws that we use and apply to different situations that we are put in front of when there's no hukum for that certain situation. Here's an example. At the time of the Prophet, was there something called smoking cigarettes? No. طيب, is it halal? Let's talk. It may be halal, maybe haram. Let's see. Is there a hadith? Let's go back to the hadith books. Is there a hadith that says smoking is haram? No. Okay. Is there something else that may change the hukum for us, that may make it haram? Potentially, yes. What is it? A general rule that says anything that causes you harm is haram. Anything that causes you harm is haram. In the first night, we spoke about something called abwab al-hurma. Things that change the ruling from halal to haram. If smoking causes you the specific amount of harm that we discussed, then it is haram. Even though there's no riwayah that says you have to stay away from smoking. There's no riwayah that says smoking cigarettes or argila or whatever it is haram. I'm not saying argila is haram, guys, okay? I'm just saying, generally speaking, okay? So, generally speaking, there's these ahkam, there's these laws, these base rules that we can apply according to the times. According to the times. So if a new situation comes up, if something in the future, I don't know, say time travel, I don't know, whatever, okay? Something comes up, there's no hadith to tell us about it. We go back to these base laws and see what they say. If it applies to one of them, then we will change the hukum potentially from haram to halal. So that's how Islam keeps up with the new things that come up. The new things that come up. The second way is what we call tashkhis al-mawdu'. Please listen. This one, and I need you to think because it's a very abstract idea. Okay? What's tashkhis al-mawdu'? Listen, in fiqh, when we come to study the world of Islamic law or the science of Islamic laws, we have something called al-mawdu' and we have something called al-mahmul. Listen. Al-mawdu' wal-mahmul. In other words, the situation and the ruling that corresponds or potentially corresponds to the situation at hand. So what are they? The situation, al-mawdu', and al-mahmul, the ruling. طيب. This link between al-mawdu' wal-mahmul, the situation and the ruling, this link is what we call al-tashkhis, application, applying the rule to the situation at hand, the application itself. So we have a hukum, I'll give you an example of what I'm trying to say. We have a hukum that says music that corresponds to haram gatherings, for example, is haram to listen to because it facilitates the haram that is happening in the gathering. طيب. This specific song, whatever it may be, I don't know, whatever it is. This specific song, does it facilitate haram? Does it suit these types of situations or not? This question that we have is called a tashkhis. Does it apply or does it not apply? When we want to talk about whether it applies or not, now we take into account the time, the place. We take into account a lot of factors. And I use this example when we come to the issue of music. If you go to certain Bedouin tribes and listen to their music, what gets them to dance and have a party? A haram party. If you listen to it, you're like, what is this? There's no rhythm to it. It's just a bunch of clacky noises. It's nothing. To them, it's music. To them, it's the best thing ever. But to us, it doesn't have any rhythm. It doesn't mean anything. Similarly, wallahu alam, maybe if we take the music that we have here, some types, not all types, some types, and let them listen to it, they'll be like, what are you guys listening to? This doesn't even have anything to it. It doesn't suit anything. To them, their music is haram. To you, it's just noises. It's nothing. It's halal. Potentially. And vice versa, potentially. Al-tashkhis is extremely relevant when it comes to time and place. Is extremely relevant when it comes to the era, the people you live around. Because you see things differently than another person will see them. I'll give you another example. It's haram to publicly humiliate yourself in any way, shape, and form. In any way, shape, and form, it's haram for the mu'min to go outside in society in a manner that humiliates himself. If a man goes and wears a dress and goes out and walks around the street. In today's society, it's a bit more normal than 30 years ago, for whatever reason. Okay? But let's just say 30 years ago, a person comes out with a dress. He's publicly humiliated. Everyone's laughing at him. Is it halal for him to wear that dress? No, it's haram. Because he's humiliating himself. But let's just say let's just say we were 1,000 years ago, where wearing a dashdasha, for example, in a specific manner, was actually something very normal. And wearing that specific dress looks like the dashdasha. Is it haram to wear it? No, because it's something normal. He's not going to be humiliated. The application does not work here. It does not apply. The hukum does not apply to this situation, although the dress that he is wearing is the same. The dress he's wearing is the same. Once you look at our laws in this fashion, you see that there's more fluidity when it comes to our laws. Once you look at the laws in this way, you see that in some cases, your opinion, or there are some gray zones. I don't want to say your opinion. There are some gray zones where application will differ from one person to another depending on where they live and the time that they live in. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Let's have another one, please. طيب. Is there some form of Islamic modernization that's correct? You'll see when I start to explain this question, you'll feel like some of it doesn't really apply to you on a practical basis. Because we're not all trying to bring the religion to the people. We're not all muballighin, right? We're not all people that are in youth groups or trying to spread the message of Islam. But that's an obligation on each and every one of us. And we're always asked. Sometimes the way we answer is extremely important. So when it comes to Islamic modernization, is there a form that's correct? And please pay attention. Okay? Is there a form that's correct? The answer is yes. How does it work? It is by changing the way we approach showing people our religion. In other words, instead of trying to change the laws to suit the people, let me try and take the laws and present them the way they are to the people in a manner that is suitable for their own understanding. You're kind of looking at me like, okay, well, that's very general. How do I apply that? I'll give you an example. One time we were upstairs, and you know how we have the Masira every year, the 40th of Imam Hussain. We have a Masira. So we go out and we give out pamphlets, books, whatever it might be. So we were sitting and we were looking to the different pieces of literature that we should be putting out on the streets. And we found a book that is a translation of an Arabic book that's famous in the East that people give out. So they translated it into English. One of the brothers, he has a lot of experience with these types of things. And he says, this book, we shouldn't give it out. And I look at him and I'm like, why? I mean, it seems to be doing its job. They translated it into English for a reason. It's a valuable book. Why shouldn't we give it out? He said, there's one sentence in there. There's one sentence in there that for that reason, we have to take it out. And we have to not give it out. Why? What's the sentence? He says, Qawl al-Imam al-Hussain, the words of Imam al-Hussain, that say, Yazid is an oppressor, the killer of an innocent soul, an unjust man, a man who drinks wine, and a person like me will not pledge allegiance to a person like him. I want to ask you a question. In the words that I just said right now, is there any reason for you not to put the book out on the streets? What did I just say that makes it unsuitable? I look at him like, okay, what else? He said, he says drinks wine. Why? He says to these people, drinking alcohol is nothing like killing an innocent soul. To these people, drinking alcohol is normal. And you're going in downtown, what else do you want? There's a bar right beside you. Right? To me, and to everyone in that room, we're like, wow, we didn't really even think of that. To us, that's a word of pride. The words of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, we always say that mithli la yubayi'u mithla. The likes of me will never bow to him, will never pledge allegiance to the likes of him. It's a word of pride to me. It's a word of pride for me and you. But to them, they won't understand that. You're trying to bring them to Islam, but they're going to run away from you because they feel like you just insulted them. So that was not given out. Let me understand the people, and my approach to them should be what changes. The way I present to them my religion should be what changes. The way I answer the question should be something that is suitable for that person's mentality and that person's way of thinking. And I shouldn't change what I understand for that person. Do not compromise your beliefs, but change the way you present it. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And here Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, خَاطِبُ النَّاسَ عَلَى قَدْرِ عُقُولِهِم. Speak to the people in accordance to their intellects. Don't start talking about spirituality when they don't even pray. Right? Step by step. Everything is step by step. Another one, مُدَارَاتُ النَّاسِ نِصْفُ الْإِيمَانِ. Being able to give and take with people, being lenient with people, is half of faith. Your ability not to be stern with people. Haram, halal, done, walk away. If he doesn't do it, kill him. Shway, shway. Shway, shway. Leniency. The way you approach it is extremely important. The way I go about, again, answering the question is extremely important. مدارات الناس نصف الإيمان والرفق بهم نصف العيش. And being kind to the people that don't share your own opinions. Being kind to people in general is half of being somebody that's productive in society. Being somebody that's lively in society, alive in society. Alive in society. And here, I remember a story of Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim. Story of Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim. What happened to Sayyid Muhsin? Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim is one of the biggest ulama. And he understood the people he was talking to. He understood their customs, their way of life, the way they thought, the way they understood. And when he answered the questions, he would take all of that into consideration and then answer the question. One time, a Bedouin man, a person that lives in the desert, he came to the Sayyid and he asked him a very simple question, one of the simplest questions of fiqh. In the third rak'ah of salat, how many times do I say subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar? How many times do I say that? He said to them, and there's a difference of opinion, by the way, on this issue. Some maraja say once. You can only say it once. Some maraja say you have to say it 3 times. Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim, he says to him, you have to say it 3 times. The man says, okay, and he walks away. Khalas, it's done. The student of Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim who studies Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim's fatwa, he says, Sayyidina, you say that you only have to say it once. Why'd you tell this guy 3 times? He said, I know the way these people pray. These people don't go by the books. The way they pray is like this. When he's coming up from his sujood and he's not fully standing up, he's still moving, he's beginning, subhanallah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah. For the first one. Then the second one, he's still, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu akbar. And then when he's going down for ruku', he says the third one. If I told him you just say it once, he would have been saying it on his way up, khalas, and then he goes down. His salat would have been wrong. But if I tell him say it 3 times, then he at least has one when he's standing calmly and he's not moving around. And it's one of the conditions that when you're reading or reciting or whatever, you have to be calm, you have to be standing, you have to be mutma'in, not moving around. He took into account the way that they did things and didn't tell them, stop doing it the way you're doing. No, he said, listen, just do it like this, we'll go. Allah wa nabi ma'ak. Right? He didn't try and change his way of life. He told them something that's suitable for him. And it worked. And I personally learned this lesson as well. I'll give you a personal experience. About 2-3 months ago, I had the honor of going somewhere and being in a camp. Alhamdulillah, we stayed 3 days. And it was an Islamic camp. So we had people of different age groups and things like that. And people of different mentalities, Lebanese people, Iraqi people, Pakistani people, Iranians. We had people of different ways of thinking, and they were all in this camp. Alhamdulillah, I had a chance to serve them. We were sitting, and I had some of the brothers, they were sitting with me, and we were in a circle, and they were asking some questions. We were bouncing ideas off of each other. And we were sitting very close to the picnic area where everyone comes and sits, boys and girls. So we were sitting, and this one guy, he asks me a question about makeup. And I'm just like, he says, is makeup halal? And I'm like, okay, if it's considered to be zina, a decoration, which 95%, 99% of makeup is. If it's considered to be a decoration of the face, then it is haram. But if it's like something like cover up that covers up the pimples or the whatever it is, then it's potentially halal. If it doesn't shine or whatever. Okay. So I gave him the hukum. And then they kind of discussed it, and I just got up and left. At night, a sister pulls me aside. One of the volunteers, actually. She was older. She pulls me aside, and she was like, when you guys were sitting there, did you not feel like the question that he asked was inappropriate? And I said, no, not really. He just asked me a question, and I answered the question. She said, but if it offended me. And I was like, why did it offend you? She was like, this guy is one of these haram, halal police. He goes around telling everyone, haram, halal, and even if it's a girl. It's haram to wear makeup. And he tells it to her face. Or he messages her on Instagram, which is creepy. Okay? This is what he did. This is him. This is his way of doing things. Okay? So she's like, the fact that you even gave him the meaning, the fact that you even told him that it's okay to be asking such a question is not right, because then he's going to take that and like pour it on top of us, you know? So she was having a problem with me, the fact that I answered the question, the fact that I actually opened a discussion about the issue. To me, I was like, I just answered the question. To them, he was a problem. And I didn't know that. I didn't know how their community worked. I didn't know that this person was going to take what I said and cause major issues, major problems. Yeah, and imagine you go up to someone's wife and tell them it's haram to wear makeup. Dabah, like you're dead. Okay? I didn't know. I potentially could have caused a problem. Getting to know the community, the people you are speaking to, is very, very, very important when you come to spread the message of Islam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And so, the revolution of Ashura should be used to spread the real message of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain in its fullest fashion, in its fullest ideas, in what's halal and in what's haram, and not change anything about it. Because when Aba Abdullah al-Hussein first stepped into Karbala, that's what he was fighting for. Anyone that tells you that Aba Abdullah al-Hussein was just a political figure, or he was fighting for something other than Islam, or whatever it may be, don't take that. The fact is, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein was fighting and sacrificed his life for me to get up at 5 a.m. and pray. He sacrificed his life for me to understand engaging in zina, masalan, is always going to be haram and will never change. Engaging or drinking wine is always going to be haram and will never change. Homosexual act is always haram and will never change. That's what he died for. He died for the ahkam. He died for the jurisprudence. He died for what's practical, what's halal and what's haram. Let me think about that next time I think about what's halal and what's haram. Let me think of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein breathing his last breaths, thinking and saying, Hassan, Hussein, Fatima, Zahra, Sarah, whoever you may be, is going to remember me the next time he or she thinks of haram. Thinks of doing something they're not supposed to do. They're not supposed to do. And so we remember Aba Abdullah al-Hussein tonight when he reached Karbala and what happened to him. It is said Aba Abdullah al-Hussein was on its way to Kufa. And on its way to Kufa, the caravan was stopped. By who? The army of Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, the man who is going to change. And you'll hear in the later days that he changes. And he switches sides and comes to the army of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. It said when Aba Abdullah al-Hussein comes to a specific area on the way to Kufa, his horse stops. And Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, not confused, he knows what's happening. He asks, why did my horse stop? Let me change the horses. So he changes the horses. It is said he changes horses 3 times, trying to show now there's something supernatural happening. Aba Abdullah al-Hussein looks around and he says, what is this place? What is this place that we got to? They say it's called Al-Ghadiriya. Oh my God, that name. It's Al-Ghadiriya. He says, does it have another name? He says, Tusamma Nainawa. They said, Tusamma Nainawa. It's called Nainawa. He said, does it have one more name? They say, Tusamma Karbala. ألها اسم غير نينوى قالوا تسمى كربلاء. When he heard the word Karbala, his eyes teared and he turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, اللهم أعوذ بك من الكرب والبلاء ها هنا محط ركابنا وسفك دمائنا ومحل قبورنا. Oh Allah, I seek refuge to you from misery and tribulation. This is our destiny. Here we stop. This is the place where our blood will be shed. This is where our graves will be. My grandfather, the Messenger of Allah, informed me about this. It's also said that the Imam alayhi salam said to his family and companions, stop here and don't move any further. Why, ya Aba Abdullah? By Allah, this is where we will stay. By Allah, this is where our blood will be shed. وها هنا والله هتكو حريمنا. By Allah, this is where our woman's sanctity will be violated. وها هنا والله قتر رجالنا. By Allah, this is where our men will be killed. وها هنا والله ذبح أطفالنا. By Allah, this is where our children will be slaughtered. وها هنا والله تزار قلوبنا. وها هنا والله تزار قبورنا. And by Allah, this is where our graves will be visited. This is the sand that my grandfather Rasulullah promised me, and his words are truthful. Tonight we also remember one other person, Al-Baneen alayhi salam, the mother of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. I say, Ya Al-Baneen, how proud would you have been to see Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas charging into the enemies? How proud would you have been when you saw Abdullah, your son, fighting like Amir al-Mu'mineen? How proud would you have been hearing Abu Abdullah say to her voice? How proud would you have been hearing the voice of Abu Abdullah saying to them, Bi abi antum wa ummi, may my mother and father be sacrificed for you. But I ask you, Ya Al-Baneen, how heartbroken would you have been to hear Al-Abbas say for the first time in his life, Akhi Hussain, my brother Hussain. How heartbroken would you have been to see Abdullah, Abu Abdullah, pick up the right hand of Al-Abbas and kiss it as he walked to where Al-Abbas fell? How heartbroken would you have been when you saw the moon drop from the sky onto the sand with one eye missing and a head broken into? Yawm al-Baneen. Come now with me to this loyal lady and see how she hears of the death of Abu Abdullah. Look at the loyalty of this woman. Look at the loyalty and the iman, the belief of Al-Baneen. It said Bishr bin Hadlam comes into Medina after the death of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He goes to the center of Medina and screams, Ya Ahla Yathrib la muqama lakum biha, قتل الحسين فدمعي مدرار. O people of Yathrib, leave the city. Hussein has been killed, so cry for his soul. After hearing the call of Bishr, a woman holding a baby comes to Bishr bin Hadlam and says to him, Ya Bishr, عندك خبر عن الحسين? Oh Bishr, do you have any news about Hussein? He says to her, yes, I'll tell you, but tell me who you are first. She says to him, Bishr, I am Al-Baneen, the mother of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Knowing who she was, he said to her, Ya Al-Baneen, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك جعفر. Ya Al-Baneen, may Allah reward you with the death of Ja'far. She says to him, Ya Ibn Hadlam, did you hear me ask you about Ja'far? Tell me about Al-Hussein. He said to her, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك عثمان. May Allah reward you with the death of Uthman. She said to him, Ya Ibn Hadlam, did you hear me ask about Uthman? Tell me about Hussein. So he said to her, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك عبد الله. May Allah reward you with the death of Abdullah. Ya Ibn Hadlam, did you hear me ask about Abdullah? Tell me about Hussein. So he said to her, Ya Al-Baneen, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك أبي الفضل العباس يا أم البنين. May Allah reward you with the death of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. When she heard the name Abbas, the boy on her shoulder fell. She was shocked. He fell on the ground. She said, "Oh, ya Abi ibn Hadlam, you have torn my heart into pieces. You told me of the death of all of my 4 sons. But listen, ya ibn Hadlam, my 4 sons and everyone in humanity is under the reign and is sacrificed for Aba Abdullah al-Hussain. Ya ibn Hadlam, tell me about Aba Abdullah al-Hussain." So he says to her, "Ya al-Banin, عظم الله لك الأجر بالحسين فقد خلفناه بأرض كربلاء جسدا بلا رأس." البنين, may Allah reward you with the death of Aba Abdullah al-Hussain. Why Ibn Hadlam? For we kept him in Karbala, a body with no head. Hearing this she screamed, "Wa walada wa Husayna wa walada wa Husayna." لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. نسألك اللهم وندعوك بأحب الخلق إليك محمد وآل محمد. We ask you by Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, accept this majlis from us, Ya Allah. Have mercy on us, Ya Allah. Give us patience in the days of Ashura, Ya Allah. Give us success, accept our deeds, Ya Allah. Make our parents proud of us and happy with us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Cure the sick mu'mineen and mu'minat by the right of al-Baneen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على. Let's read Surah Al-Fatiha for the believing brothers and sisters, for Abu Aqil and the young boy Hussain al-Baydani, before Allah sallallahu alaihi wa sallam Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.